So looking at the picks and bans here, as Deserted is going to take on Novus Orsa in game number 7 of the day, we're going to see what adaptations they've made.
Thoth banned away by Novus Orsa. ShadowNightmare not wanting to pilot that mage in the middle lane. He's played a hunter in the middle lane, has ShadowNightmare, and then he played the Poseidon. The Poseidon worked out considerably better than that Artemis did. Nike banned away by Deserted, no surprise there. Like we said, we saw her once today. Don't expect to see her a whole lot after that. Khepri also a popular ban today, totally. Just so much pressure, as well as that revive, just so strong.
And honestly, at level 1, Khepri has really good lane clear with that Rising Dawn. We saw the combination between the Izanami and the Khepri that was able to proxy wave in between that tier 1 and tier 2 dual lane tower. So I'm not technically surprised about the Khepri ban consistently, but look at this. Freya's going to get locked in first for Novus Orsa.
We've seen a ton of Freya bans so far today. I think this is the first time she's been let through, and then immediately first picked for Novus Orsa. I'm assuming that's going to go to FleuryQ in the Hunter role, though with ShadowNightmare playing Artemis, who knows? You know, Izanami going to be locked in here for Deserted. They could be going to Baas yet again. It's same 2 picks for Deserted. You said they needed to work on their picks and bans, totally, but I don't think either the Izanami or the Sylvanus was necessarily the problem last game.
Well, to be fair, they did get out sustained with the Raw
Yes.
versus the Sylvanus, where Sylvanus will give you that heal over time, as well as the Raw, but it'll give you stronger heals on the side of the Raw. So I would be really liking to see maybe a Raw pick here for Deserted, and then ban away Circad, ban away Odin, all the anti-healers that you really don't want to deal with, and then just utilize those 2 sustain options to be able to continuously siege towers.
Ratatoskr, he's the pick of the day so far. It's FrostiaK, it's his turn to try and make it happen on the jungler. Going to be locked in for Novus Orsa. I love the Sobek pick. Excellent up against that Sylvanus. You can pluck him out of position. You've got the anti-heal available as well on that Sickening Strike. Janus going to be the selection here for Karo in the middle lane for Deserted. Karo is not a top-tier mid laner, I would say, I think, in Europe, but on Janus, he looks a lot stronger.
I really like Karo on Janus here because of the fact that you're trying to avoid FrostiaK on the Ratatoskr for the most part. So this is going to be a good defensive and an offensive opportunity to be able to re-engage wherever FrostiaK is going to go. Everyone from Deserted will follow.
Exactly, matching that global pressure that FrostiaK is bringing on that Ratatoskr. Ra and Poseidon both looking at ShadowNightmare, 2 gods that are both very strong right now, and favored picks by ShadowNightmare, Susano and Kabrakan, both looking at the jungle there for Deserted. Gorgonzolla got off to a great start last game, and then all just kind of fell apart. He got 2 kills early on, and then was just kind of invisible the rest of the time. He's going to have to try and improve on that on this Thor.
Whatever Gorgonzola did, we saw Replicas just do that much better with the Ratatoskr. And yet again, Ratatoskr is going to be played against Deserted, so they're going to have to make these changes and deal with it. Fenrir going to get locked in, so we might see either Fenrir or Ratatoskr in the solo lane.
We may have spoken a little too soon. I think that might be Ratatoskr in the solo lane. Fenrir in the jungle. We'll have to wait and see, but again, the doubles Hunter-esque, though this time you've got Freya. I think that works a little bit better. Apollo, probably in the middle lane, I would say. That would be my guess. Freya mid, it's just, your wave clear is so poor early on.
Yeah, I actually had the luxury and the pleasure to play with somebody in my rank game that was actually Freya mid.
How'd that go?
No, it didn't go so hot.
I know that
Not
feel.
so hot.
I know that feel totally. Bellona going to be the final pick there. No numbers looked so good on it, and so now the big SB is like, all right, I'm going to show you what a Bellona can do. We just saw it on have it against us. Going to go into that solo lane. Either way, if it's up against the Ratatoskr or the Fenrir, it's going to be an interesting lane matchup there. But I'm really looking at this duo lane again from Deserted. Can they match up against the veteran but new duo lane for Novus Orsa?
It's actually Freya mid.
Wow. That's
So it went from an Artemis mid to a Freya mid.
ShadowNightmare just hates clearing the wave.
Apparently.
He just doesn't like it.
He just wants to fight, kill. But the question is, how are you going to fight and kill when you have to deal with the minions first? Janus and Thor is easily going to be able to out-clear this Freya Ratatoskr in the mid lane.
Yeah, and it is going to be Fenrir on the solo lane, so we were wrong on both fronts there, totally. We were 0 for 2 as far as Novus Orsa's draft, and you could always count on these guys to give you something new to look at as far as team compositions go. This is an important game for Novus Orsa. There's a big difference between going 2-1 and 1-2. 2-1, you're sitting in a pretty good spot to qualify still. Not as great as, you know, a team like Cyclone or New Game Plus, but still pretty strong. But 1 and 2, you know you're going to have to make some plays.
Frezzy's actually making the rotation at level 1, trying to assist out ShadowNightmare, whereas we see on the right-hand side, Gorgonzolla is positioned to try to complement with the BigSB. It's going to shut down this Fenrir in the early game for Ducky, and that's something you really have to do against these assassin-style warriors in the solo lane. You don't want to get them an early lead.
No, but on the left-hand side, you can see the early push really being taken advantage of here by Deserted. They recognize that Frezzyy is not in lane with his hunter, and so they invade the buffs because of it. ShadowNightmare is there to help Frezzyy steal away the enemy red buff, but the rotation from dual lane looked like it might have been coming. They decide against it.
It's a nice little trade here for the side of Novus Orsa. They sacrificed their own purple buff to be able to steal away the enemy's red, and that's going to help out ShadowNightmare out clear the early game of BroTuZ before that Unstable Vortex really comes online.
Ducky and the BigSB fighting over this last big fire elemental. Ducky, like you mentioned, you don't want to give these assassins in the solo lane an early lead. That's exactly what the BigSB is doing, making sure he doesn't have free farm in that jungle.
And now having level 3 versus Ducky's level 2, he's going to be able to put more pressure, but so much damage. FrostiaK has to dash away. BroTuZ is going to portal. He needs to find 2 in hands, finds 1, but the other one was absorbed by ShadowNightmare. Even then, I don't think that would have been a kill because of the potion that was ticking.
Exactly. FrostiaK really, really close there, but is able to survive just barely. Forced back to base, which is something you really don't like to do as Ratatoskr. You like to be able to stay out there for quite a long time because, like we mentioned, you can buy your acorn without having to back to base, but because that pressure put on by Gorgonzolla, doesn't really have a choice in that matter.
Which is very easy for him to do with the mobility of that hammer, just ping-ponging anytime he wants to teleport to that. There was a contestment on those Fire Giant Elementals, and obviously Thor slightly better than Ratatoskr as long as he doesn't necessarily get stunned out of his Berserker Barrage.
And that's the thing, is just using your Berserker's Barrage at the right time. There's plenty of interrupt on the side of Novus Orsa to stop that. You've got the Pluck from Frezzyy, you've got the Banish from ShadowNightmare. Both Ducky and FrostiaK have stuns, and then FleuryQ has the meds, so it's going to be difficult for Gorgonzolla to really channel that entire Berserker's Barrage if he ganks any lane. There isn't a single lane where he can do it safely.
Gorgonzolla looking for more damage. A nice little portal, but it's going to be a dash away from FrostiaK. BroTuZ versus Ducky, they're taking so much damage, each of them, but having better sustain is the BigSB because the fact that he has the AoE hits with a bludgeon after the bludgeon and with the death toll will out-sustain the Fenrir that only has a single target hit.
Now, Ducky could elect to go into the Seething Howl, his second ability, to grant some extra lifesteal and kind of give him that sustain, but we see most Fenrirs, at least in the jungle, really prioritize both their first and third abilities. Most don't even level their 2 until after the 1 and the 3 are both maxed out because those are your main damage abilities. But oh, Frezzyy pulled under tower, immediately portaled, but that actually keeps him from taking too much damage. That was a misplay there from BroTuZ. If he just lets that second part of double tap hit Frezzyy, that's a first blood.
Absolutely, barely able to escape that, plucking away, even having to use meditation because of the damage over time from Hoek's Wisps could have potentially found the kill. So great escape from Frezzyy. He's going to have to back, reset, start to put some wards up on the map. Hoek's going to find an ultimate onto ShadowNightmare, pulled it back in, and now it's going to force out Valkyrie's Discretion.
That was the entire game plan, but Ducky's made the rotation. He's got the Ragnarok and pulls Hoek right underneath the tower. Shell is popped in the beautiful portal there from BroTuZ. He may have messed up the last one, but that one is perfectly on point for the mid laner, for Deserted. Saves the life of his support.
Really important play coming out of the Ratatoskr FrostiaK, covering the way for Ducky. Ducky makes a great gank in the mid lane. Now, obviously, they don't find the kill onto Hoek, but it was a nice attempt, and because of the fact that there was sacrificing a wave, we could have seen this Fenrir fall even further behind this Bellona, so great rotation from FrostiaK covering that wave.
And that's the veteran presence that you expect from a guy like FrostiaK, who's been around the league for so long, especially with his mid laner ShadowNightmare. These two seem to be basically inseparable, despite public opinion about whether or not this is the mid-jungle combination that can win a world title. They seem to think that they should stick together through thick and thin.
In the mid lane, Gorgonzolla looking very menacingly at ShadowNightmare. Really wants to stun him out, poke him out. Frezzyy from behind, though, with setting up the Ratatoskr, but he gets pulled away instead.
Frezzyy, he pulls him out of that Ratatoskr ultimate. FrostiaK doesn't mind. He's going to be able to pick him up anyways. Gorgonzolla takes the damage there from lurking in the waters as he lands down. There's the hammer, but a very short teleport from Gorgonzolla. Charge prey off the mark. Nice pull from Hoek.
Great stun.
Oh, the wall from Gorgonzolla is perfectly timed right as Ducky was hitting him with that brew. brutalize, saves his life along with Hoek's and pull.
Found the one kill, finds the right side mid Harpy. Slow start here for Novus Orsa, which is really surprising considering the fact that there's a lot of mobility on the side of Deserted between this Thor, between this Janus. However, having to use your through space and time defensively is not something you really want to do at this early stage of the game.
No, you want to be using it to make rotations and make counter ganks happen, or ganks. You can kind of press it yourself if you find the right opportunity. But the slow start for Novus Orsa is a good thing, at least in the middle lane, because you do have a very late game option in that Freya. It's going to take her a little bit of time to really get to where she wants to be item-wise.
And now trying to find the pull back down onto the BigSB. The Eagles rally is not going to be used, trying to wait till the last second. Very risky play. Could have cost him his life.
Only needed one more tick of brutalize, one more tower shot. That would have spelled the end for the BigSB. Luckily for him, Repicot's a little bit slow on that rotation, or excuse me, FrostiaK a little bit slow. I see Ratatoskr and I just assume Repicot at this point. He's played it so much during these relegations, even early on.
The pull not available onto Ducky. Nice little attempt there from Hoek. He's made the rotation, trying to cover, helping out Gorgonzolla get topped off a little bit by those wisps, but not much more action there. As we're going to see FrostiaK cover the wave once more on the left-hand side, though. Baas versus FleuryQ. We haven't really talked about this Izanami Apollo matchup too much.
No, these are the two hunters that everyone's really expecting to come to the top of the physical hunter list in Season 4, and it's because of their excellent wave clear early on, but you can see a little bit of a difference just in consumable choices early on. Again, Baas going for this health chalice, whereas FleuryQ going the traditional health pot route. Which one do you prefer in the hunter lane, Tony?
Well, before I talk about that, we see Thor in mid. He's going to dive right back onto Frezzyy. Double stun. The ultimates from FrostiaK diving onto BroTuZ shell. It's going to keep him topped off a little bit. The dash onto FrostiaK. And now it's Gorgonzolla that's in a little bit of trouble.
Damage. ShadowNightmare able to pick up a kill. Now Hoek, he's under pressure because of that ultimate from FleuryQ, but the Eagles rally is perfect. The BigSB able to pick up ShadowNightmare. FrostiaK, he's going to be next. BroTuZ barely escapes through that portal. Double kill for the Bellona out of the solo lane. The rotation could not have been better timed, saving the life of his support as well as picking up that double kill.
I was going to say it was a greedy play coming out of Novus Orsa, trying to continue and find those 2 kills, but instead it was actually a better defense coming out of the BigSB with that Eagles rally. So now for that 2-for-0, still feeling a little frisky is Frezzyy, but Baas not connecting on that ultimate.
No, just not quite there. Baas was thinking that Frezzyy was going to continue to run south through that jungle instead. Cuts out towards the lane, and with no mana available anymore, Baas doesn't really have much to say about that engagement anymore. On the right-hand side, Ducky still even in levels compared to the BigSB, but because of that double kill, as well as the just superior farm of the BigSB thus far, you can see the level, the net worth disparity. The BigSB's at the top. Ducky, he's second from the bottom.
He has to really find a way back into this game. You cannot allow yourself to be this far behind. Now it's 800 gold at this point. That's a the first tier of a defensive item potentially. Now with this rotation from Gorgonzolla, trying to stun out Ducky, but a nice little juke in the solo lane. Not going to find any further action there. In the mid lane, though, a lot of rotations from Novus Orsa. After they clear the wave, they're going to be able to make a rotation. Looks like they're going to head towards Gold Fury, or at least grab those oracles.
The oracles are up, and those are so important here early in the game in Season 4, Toli, because it gives you that shining light of vision that cannot be countered on that Gold Fury. You gotta have you know what's happening all the time. There's the pluck onto Gorgonzolla. Hoek, but through space of time, hits FrostiaK. ShadowNightmare up into the Valkyrie's discretion. Can't quite find the damage. Gorgonzolla considering going back in, but with FrostiaK up in the sky, I don't know if he will. He will. He's going on Frezzyy. There's the root. There's the unstable vortex. BroTuZ picks him up. Here comes the crash down from FleuryQ. He picks up Gorgonzolla in response. Baas made the rotation. Dark Portal needs one more auto. Baas able to pick it up. Rally here. BigSB underneath the tower. Use the teleport to get there, but FleuryQ just able to escape. 2-for-1 in favor of Deserted.
Great job overall with the rotations here. ShadowNightmare has just been taken advantage of. He's always using his Valkyrie's discretions offensively, so he can't get out of danger. Now, Frezzyy had the presence of mind where he tried to pluck out Gorgonzolla, but now he didn't have an escape, so that was another easy target, and I like the mindset here that Gorgonzolla had where he didn't hesitate to go back into the action landing back down onto Frezzyy, finding himself that second kill for his team during that little encounter. Not going to find any more objectives off of that. Still a little early, and the respawn timers are very short.
Frezzyy just playing the way Frezzyy usually does. He's always looking to go in. He's not scared to find the engagements, even if they aren't necessarily the best engagements for his team. He's always looking to fight, and that's exactly, you can see right now in the middle lane, he's up there 2v1 right along the tower line in typical Frezzyy fashion. And Ducky again just gets out-rotated. I know the teleport was used there by the BigSB to get into that fight, but it's still just BigSB's making an impact in these team fights. Ducky is not. Gold Fury being started up though by Novus Orsa. Lurking in the water is going to be used to try and secure it. They will. FrostiaK, he's looking, but again, miscommunication between Frezzyy and FrostiaK. Hoek goes nowhere, and FrostiaK, he's in trouble through space and time. Gives a great portal there, but Gorgonzolla doesn't even need it. He's going to be able to pick up the enemy jungler. FrostiaK, 2 deaths, matching the scoreline of Gorgonzolla 1 and 2.
Still grabbing the Gold Fury though, so really great play coming out of Novus Orsa, utilizing their damage between that Freya Apollo, as well as the lurking in the water to secure this early 10-minute Gold Fury objective that was done. But they keep losing FrostiaK in the process, and this is going to start creating a little bit of a disparity between these two junglers. And Thor, that's ahead over Ratatoskr, is definitely going to tip the scales in Deserted's favor.
I mean, the big difference that we've seen between Repicos's Ratatoskr play that's been so successful early on for New Game Plus, and now FrostiaK on in this game for Novus Orsa, has been we haven't seen FrostiaK gank the dual lane once yet, totally, and that was Repicos's entire game plan. Ult from behind that rock right next to purple buff, bounce twice and land on your skull, and FrostiaK just hasn't, he's been saving his ultimates to counter-initiate when he should be the one aggressing in the early game.
He should be, but at the same time, he has taken advantage of BroTuZ in the early game, which was a nice opportunity to keep your mid laner Freya alive still. It's a early game. Freya still needs to find the Fatalis, finally finishing that item up. So now there's going to be a huge power spike on the side of this mid laner. Level 10 now, not struggling too much as she was on the Artemis.
BigSB gonna get pulled under tower here, but I don't know if Ducky's got the damage yet, totally. Eagles Rally still available. There it is, but with the help of FrostiaK, there is the gank we were looking for. Ducky able to pick up the solo laner, a big kill there, exactly what he needed. He's now ahead in levels and right behind the BigSB in net worth. Hoek makes the rotation into the right-hand side. FrostiaK lurking, not going to be able to find the poke, but I don't think there was any kill potential there regardless.
BigSB is just really not respecting the Ragnarok coming out of the Fenrir. This is something that's just been constantly used over and over again. Whether or not he dies, it's something that he gets poked out for, just not worth it at all. But now ShadowNightmare, he's making a very aggressive call, starting up this portal demon. 3 members here, though, on the side of Deserted.
FrostiaK, he's pushing on the right-hand side. Teleport is available for the BigSB, and he's going to use it to make sure that tier 1 tower stays okay. And that's why you see that portal demon pull, because you know that Novus Orsa wants to be in that right side jungle to protect FrostiaK from any rotations, to stop him from pushing down that tower. But as soon as they see the enemy response, they back off. Now it's Deserted's turn to try and make it happen. Beautiful jump, beautiful dash. 0 for 2 on that Ratatoskr does go Hoek, but there's a through space of time. Not gonna be able to find a home. Ragnarok onto Gorgonzolla. The kill. Ducky's gonna be able to pick him up. ShadowNightmare, he's looking at the BigSB. He's got nowhere to go. Does have Eagles Rally, but the stun from Ducky locks him in place. Great portal from BroTuZ. So patient, but it might have cost him here.
Eagles Rally's going to keep him alive for a little bit longer, finding a kill onto Gorgonzolla. Now everybody else is going to start collapsing onto this portal demon. Doesn't seem that anybody here from Desert is going to be able to stop this one. Izanami on the left, electing not to make the rotation just too far away. And this is an important objective in this early game, to be able to ping pong between looking for little boxing engagements. Maybe could potentially siege down this tier 1 mid tower, and then back if you get poked out during that team fight, and then come back into the team fight even stronger.
So the portal demon, the new objective here in season 4, you got the oracles as well, a little bit of changes to the fire elementals as well. So it, just for the viewers who aren't necessarily familiar with this new objective, it does give you a little bit of golden experience, but not quite as much as Gold Fury. But like you mentioned, totally, it's the ability to get poked out in a team fight, to force your issue, if you will, and then back and use that portal to get back in the engagements quickly.
I'm a big fan of the portal. Either way, though, mid lane, Gorgonzolla going to land back down. Repicos's taking a lot of damage. His ultimate's still available if he wants to re-engage this, as Hoek is under this tier 1 mid tower. It seems that he is in a little bit of trouble here. ShadowNightmare is going to continue to chase down Frezzyy. Is probably not going to let this one go. go, though.
There's the Ratatoskr just to buy him enough time, but he doesn't go straight for the portal, which causes Frezzyy to miss that charge spray. FrostiaK, he's up in the sky, finds two with the knock-up. Hoek, he's gonna fall. Frezzyy picks up his first kill. Again, Valkyrie's discretion being used offensively, but this time it works out well for ShadowNightmare. He's gonna pick up his second kill of the game. 2 dead, 4 deserted, and now the middle tier 1 tower looks tempting for Novus Orsa, but they think better of it. They don't have their hunter there to push.
It seems that FrostiaK taking too much damage, and with the rotation from BigSB, it's going to deter that stuff after the stuff. And overall, third time is the charm for ShadowNightmare, finally making use of that Valkyrie's discretion, finding the kills. Meanwhile, we see Gorgonzolla grabbing those oracles for his team. Everybody was a little bit more preoccupied about getting their health back online, getting more items online. So now looking at the score charts here, Deserted still struggling a little bit heading into the 16-minute mark. They're down about 2,000 gold and experience.
And that's exactly where you expect to be when you put Freya middle, but this is an okay spot for Novus Orsa. You can see that ShadowNightmare almost has his ring online. You need to get that third item for Freya. That's one of her strongest points in the game, is when she finishes her third item, and they're very, very close to that. Gold Fury has respawned, making that Oracle pickup even more important by Gorgonzolla at the right timing to find those, because you know Novus Orsa can't win that ever-important vision battle around that objective.
And that's something that you really need to take advantage of. These oracles, I feel like, are underappreciated for the most part. A lot of teams and a lot of games have been a lot of contestment around that objective, because it's a free ward that you don't have to spend 50 gold for. Now you can basically make sure that you have vision around the Gold Fury so the enemy doesn't sneak it around you.
Ducky just using that lead that he's gotten for himself with the help of FrostiaK in this lane, knocks down that tier 1 tower. His tower is pretty low as well. ShadowNightmare is very low in the middle lane, uses Valkyrie discretion at the exact moment to make sure he doesn't get stunned out by Gorgonzolla. Through space and time was used there as well. Aegis popped by FrostiaK, making sure he doesn't take too much damage from that double tap coming out of Gorgonzolla. But ShadowNightmare is going to have to back, but that is 2 big global ultimates used by Deserted.
They did force out the Aegis, though, at least out of ShadowNightmare. FleuryQ, he recognizes that this objective was being started. He's going to scare them away with that ultimate, but now it's Hoek that's in a lot of trouble, but a great ultimate to get the CC immunity, preventing the Ragnarok.
FrostiaK finds Gorgonzolla underneath the tier 1 tower middle. Frezzyy, that's not the target there. Charge prey, not gonna happen. Roma and Victor right on top. Baas able to pick him up with that dark portal. Ducky has to jump away, doesn't have the teleport available to get back here either. Oracle Vision has expired, so it is Novus Orsa with control of that Gold Fury pit for the time being, but just not the right time to fight there, I think, for Deserted. You do get Frezzyy, but you lose Gorgonzolla in the process. You didn't have Through Space and Time. You didn't have Anvil of Dawn. Tough fight to win without those 2 globals.
And it was a great presence of mind from FrostiaK to be able to find the isolated Gorgonzolla, 1v1 him, win that little encounter, and then steal away the speed buff afterwards. Still going to have a little bit of an advantage with the mobility. So now, still about a 2,000 to 3,000 gold lead on the side of Novus Orsa. They're going to continue applying even more pressure. The later this game goes, the scarier it's going to get for Deserted. This Freya has not been abused hard enough in the early game.
BigSB, he's seen this one before. Brought under tower right away. FrostiaK does find the stun, guaranteeing those tower shots, and BigSB stands and watches as he dies. The rest of Deserted understand that they've got to make something happen on this left-hand side, but Novus Orsa has been there, done that. They know that's the standard. We gank solo lane, you go and try and do Gold Fury. Frezzy's here to make that happen. And like you mentioned, Toli, BigSB is just not respecting the Ragnarok under tower. He hasn't been all game.
That's the 3rd or the 4th time that that's happened. And during that little encounter from FrostiaK, the Eagles Rally was not available. So taking another spill, 2 deaths on his side. His teleport is not available for another 90 seconds or so. So 5 on 4 here. Ducky was looking for the stun. Doesn't have the Ragnarok, but still can get off a lot of damage with that jump.
He has gone for the Jotun's Wrath, so he's got a good amount of power and penetration, along with a ton of CDR, courtesy of that and the Breastplate of Valor. Great stun there by FrostiaK, forced out the purification beads from BroTuZ, but he does have Through Space and Time still, as well as that Aegis, so he's pretty safe. Janus about as safe as you can get as far as a mid lane mage.
I really like the fact that FrostiaK is applying this much pressure onto BroTuZ, because if you even trade ultimate for FrostiaK versus BroTuZ, that heavily favors Novus Orsa. You have 1 global ultimate, which only affects you, whereas a global team ultimate.
Gorgonzolla comes crashing down only for the stun, and actually directly into the pluck there from Frezzyy. Through Space and Time is used to get the rest rest of the team there. Frezzyy on the retreat, underneath half HP, tries to heal up.
But
Repicaz is here, finds all four with the knock-up. Hoek, he's going to use his Wrath of Terror to find Repi underneath that tower. Disengagement is good there. Nice ultimate from Hoek, dissuades the dive, and just not any long-range ability damage for Novus Orsa with this Freya in the middle lane.
BigSB is here now, finally making the rotation. It's going to be a 5-on-5. Repicaz is
Frezzyy
still around here, or rather the Ratatoskr, but we're going to see more Sanctuaries being popped by BroTuZ here. Diving into the backline is the BigSB, as well as Ducky pulling back Baas, and without any sort of escape, that's going to continue the action.
BigSB, no Eagles rally. He's trying to run away, but the portal finds two there. Tons of damage. ShadowNightmare trying to pick up the kill, as is FrostiaK with that Unstable Vortex. Chunks him for half his life. Hoek's gonna fall to the mid lane Freya, but BigSB turns it around in the jungle up against FrostiaK. ShadowNightmare still looking for it. Valkyrie's discretion. FleuryQ able to pick up the double kill. 4 dead. Only the BigSB left alive. And you've got a ton of objective pressure left with this Freya and Sobek and Apollo.
BigSB has teleported in, and there's so many low members though on the left-hand side. Ducky jumps in. Ducky's gonna huck him out of the action, and that's gonna be a deicide for Novus Orsa. They're gonna grab this tier 1 tower. They even have time to grab tier 2 if they wanted to before gold, but instead electing to play it super safe. They want to guarantee themselves this Gold Fury objective.
The global from Janus is still a threat through space and time. Will be up just to see respawns. I think that's why we see Novus Orsa playing it safe in terms of going for the Gold Fury instead of the towers. Plus, you got to keep in mind, Rallying Ritual isn't only for the late game total. You can spend it in this sort of scenario and get there with if Hoek is there to contest, but instead, Gold Fury goes the way of Novus Orsa, doubling up Deserted in kills, up 8,000 gold, 14-7. Do read the kills, 21.5 minutes, and this is scary for Deserted because this is exactly when Novus Orsa's composition starts to come online. And if you're Novus Orsa, you expect to be a little bit behind probably at this stage, saying, okay, now's our chance. Now we've got the items. Now we can start winning team fights. Oh wait, we're up 8k gold. We are already winning team fights. You can see Demonic finished off there. Demonic Grip being the item, the third item there for ShadowNightmare, giving him that attack speed and penetration. You've got the Executioner with the double crit finished, and FleuryQ already working on what's going to be his third crit item. Very, very scary spot for Deserted.
Not only that, they're winning these team fights against a sustain option that Hoek has with the Wisps as well. Now, they do have a little bit of anti-healing with the Pestilence on the side of Ducky, and as well as having the Frezzyy, the Sickening Strike, as well as a Pestilence of his own. So those options have been really helping them out find some more kills. Now, FrostiaK, he wants to 1v1 again.
And FrostiaK has been so much more aggressive in these mid to later stages of the game, and it's really shown in Novus Orsa's play that they've been able to make it happen because FrostiaK is being that initiator that they were really lacking in the early stages. Now he's going to try and initiate once more, looking in the jungle, going to find 2 with that knock-up. Purification beads used there by Gorgonzolla, going to keep him alive and keep him out of that knock-up. And FrostiaK's willing to trade out his ultimate for that Purification every time. ShadowNightmare, he's not done though. He wants to go in, Pulse, Irradiate, just tons and tons of damage. Wall, not going to matter. FleuryQ comes in and picks up that last hit, his third of the game. 3-0-4 for the new hunter for Novus Orsa.
Whenever you're this far ahead, you might as well just start grouping up and take advantage of your levels. This point, it's a level 12 Sylvanus that finally has Blink, but whenever you're the ones that's engaging, you're not really allowing Hoek the opportunity to look for an efficient Blink ultimate combination. So with a 5-on-4, we're going to see Novus Orsa grab the tier 1 mid. They're going to give up their tier 1 on the right-hand side, but it's definitely worth it once they grab this tier 2.
FleuryQ, what you're lacking in terms of Freya tower push, and that's usually one of the weaknesses of Freya whenever you pick her, you absolutely make up for in a character like Apollo. One of the best hunters in the game is shutting down that tower thanks to that Audacity passive, doubling his attack speed every 10 auto attacks. Just so much tower shred, and that's why you see Deserted just willing to give up these towers. Only tier 2 tower on the right-hand side stands in red. You can see Gorgonzolla still trying to split push down this right-hand side, but Ducky's teleporting in. That's going to stop the split push from the Thor.
And 24 minutes into the game, 10, almost 11,000 goal lead on Novus Orsa. This is the timing when we're going to see them start to back by, finish up their 5th items, heading closer to their 6th, start looking for this Fire Giant as well and start looking to close out the game with some Phoenixes. They've been putting in such a great position riding off of the ganks here from FrostiaK on this Ratatoskr, and then just Ducky abusing the big SB, constantly pulling him under that tier 1 tower, just losing his life several times. And with that, ShadowNightmare has finally found enough time to come online. Level 17 Freya, double ring between the Telekines and the Demonic Grip.
It looks like he's going triple ring, Toli. It looks like he's going for the Shaman's ring as well. Telkine's ring has gotten a new passive and new stats, new gold, everything basically in Season 4. It's now a much more expensive item, sitting around 3,000 gold, but it gives you 80 base power. You get that attack speed, and then you're gaining power as you hit auto attacks. And it's just that attack speed synergizes so well with Freya, and you know she's going to be hitting 5 auto attacks at that time. She's got the pulse active. This is a perfect item for Freya.
And once she does finish off that Shaman's ring, which is not that expensive either, it's 2,400 gold. She's going to be receiving about 2% of her maximum health and mana per hit. And with that attack speed, no matter who's on her, she's going to be out-sustaining any sort of damage that she realistically can take.
Through space and time, fired off, trying to dissuade the Fire Giant push. Ducky, he's up in the Ragnarok, finds someone in his mouth, but FrostiaK, he doesn't care. He's looking in the back line, picks up BroTuZ before his jungler can come and help him out. Now FrostiaK, he's trying to turn it around onto Gorgonzolla. Meanwhile, Ducky does pick up Hoek with the help of the rest of Novus Orsa. Big SB falls as well, 3 for 0. FrostiaK zones out all of the damage for Deserted. It allows a massive amount of damage coming out of FleuryQ and ShadowNightmare to do the damage for blue. 18-7. 4 unanswered kills since last time we checked in with them, and the last tower remaining, it's not going to remain for long.
This is what we were talking about before. With this kind of a lead, there's really nothing that Deserted can do to stop the Fire Giant objective push. They should have been a little bit more patient, but constantly Novus Orsa is the one that is finding people out of position, and it's just due to the success of FrostiaK not able to be afraid of going up into the sky and looking for a potential target. That time finding an easy kill, and Gorgonzolla couldn't really stop him.
Frezzyy using that Aegis yet again. That's the second time we've seen a support pick up this Aegis so far today. I believe we saw Murder with it on the Ymir. What about this? What is this Aegis pickup on supports, Toli? So usually we don't see that.
The game that Murder picked it up on was a little bit more obvious than this one because it was against the Poseidon. If I recall correctly, it was a Poseidon that he had to deal with, and that makes it really easy to just avoid the Krakens. But at this time, there's a decent amount of damage over time also that could be negated here between the Sylvanus Wrath of Terror, obviously Thor, Berserker, Barrage, as well as maybe negating out some of the damage coming from Baas if he's ever can't get away from his ultimate. So once you plug in, as Frezzyy will be known to do, he's not going to hesitate to dive that backline. He might as well have this defensive relic, a very selfish one, mind you, to be able to get himself out of danger.
Very, very rare to not see a shell. At least in Season 3, it was basically a death sentence not pick up a shell. I don't think either support has gotten one this game, though. We might see Hoek with one on that Sylvanus. We do, actually. He picked it up right at level 1. Blink going to be the second relic for him, but just not enough tanky options for him quite yet. He does have the Sovereignty online, has the Heartward Amulet, but right after that, looks like he's working into that Lotus Crown that you mentioned, just trying to up that heal and the protections you get when you use it.
It might be too little too late, unfortunately, for the tree onto Hoek. His team is struggling so much right now, down 16,000 gold. The Fire Giant squad on Novus Orsa. They found the right side Phoenix earlier on. They're going to continue to put pressure on those left-hand side, and this is looking very scary for Deserted because once they lose, or if they lose this game, which is looking like the case, they're going to be down 0-3.
Very, very, basically all but eliminating them from making the SPL in the spring split of Season 4. Left Phoenix, here comes the siege. A little bit of damage there from Gorgonzolla, but completely negligible onto the tanky Frezzyy. You can see FrostiaK just lurking in the jungle, waiting to use that ultimate to come crashing down on the backside. That's been his entire idea for the last few team fights, ignoring what's happening in the front side and looking directly at BroTuZ on the Janus.
And Gorgonzolla has been trying to save him whenever that's happened, but can't really save it. As Hoek, he's going to get plucked in, and that's going to be a quick pickings of the tree.
There, FrostiaK does the exact same thing to BroTuZ. Gorgonzolla, he's up, he's down, he's nowhere near FrostiaK. Left Phoenix, that's going to fall soon enough. Double whoop directly in the pluck. Baas is gonna fall. Big SB, he's jumping into his Titan room, but so are the fire minions from the right-hand side. Novus Orsa playing it very, very safe, gonna pick up this middle Phoenix as well, but with only only the Big SB still left to defend, that's gonna be game. Novus Orsa, they go up 2-1 in today's relegations, looking very, very strong on the back of FrostiaK. Ducky, ShadowNightmare had a great game. You got to give shout out to FleuryQ as well, 6-0-6. But for me, Tully, it was the front line of Novus Orsa, namely FrostiaK, just creating space for ShadowNightmare and FleuryQ to do whatever they wanted.
It was just also the combination of Deserted not abusing Freya in the mid lane onto ShadowNightmare. We saw what Artemis did for ShadowNightmare. It was just not a pleasant game for him. He struggled very heavily. There was a lot of pressure being built onto him, but this game, he had no pressure onto him. He got to the mid to late game that he needed to, and as a result, it was both Frezzyy and FrostiaK diving the backline, creating that space, like you mentioned, for ShadowNightmare.
Gorgonzolla was just nowhere to be found in that middle lane, not putting that pressure on ShadowNightmare, like you mentioned. Like we said, Novus Orsa, they're up to 2-1. Deserted, they are 0-3. Let's take a look at the standings, see where that compares to everyone else so far in today's relegations. Novus Orsa, they played the most matches, so they're right on top, 2-1. New Game Plus and Cyclone GG, they're sitting at 2-0. If they can find their victories, that's going to put them in a great spot. Elevate, they're sitting at 1-1, while the other two CC teams, Challenger Cup, Last Minute Monsters, Deserted, both winless thus far. And
Deserted is looking very difficult for them to find wins at this point in time. Now, granted, they're still not mathematically out. There could be a lot of tiebreakers with 2 and 3. There's only,
chances.
I mean, very few, but it's realistically still available. But either way, we still have a lot of action. That was only game number 7 of the day out of 15.
Out of 15 potential games. We're going to go to a quick break. We need to go look at our gem salary for today because we're going to be put to work for it. We'll be right back after this break.